Here we go again with Bill Maher. Bill Maher, the big brain, mega genius, atheist, 1,000 IQ, political expert of it all.
Bill.
Okay. Don't give me Bill like in this
do I need to
area.
Google?
I'm the one who doesn't know. Maybe you don't. I'm not saying you don't know.
No, I'm not claiming to know anything about politics, but watch the friggin' videos.
Bill Maher, the guy who supposedly is the authority on all issues, the supreme intellectual Bill Maher, who's so well-read that he seemingly knows absolutely nothing relating to history or some of the hardest-hitting journalism of the modern day. Bill Maher, the guy who tells us how we should live our lives because he's just so virtuous and so good and so much cleaner and better than all of us. Yeah, that Bill Maher. Compassionate leftist Bill Maher. It turns out he's just like every other pompous Hollywood elitist liberal. Extremely rude, condescending, selfish, and just in general, not a good person. Who would have seen that one coming? I guess the almighty virtuous Bill Maher has just been exposed by a very unlikely figure, actually, by Jackass's own Steve-O. Let me show you guys exactly what he had to say, and let me tell you why it's not surprising at all. We've got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. All right, folks. So Patrick Bet-David from Valuetainment was on Steve-O's podcast called Wild Ride. And of course, if Patrick Bet-David's on the show, then it's probably going to be a good conversation, and that it was. This part right here is what everyone's talking about. Take a look.
I just wanted to say something that I watched a piece of your appearance on Bill Maher's show.
Yeah.
And I found the way he spoke to you to be rather insulting. I don't need you to respond to that. It's more of a comment than a question. Are you a guy who enjoys smoking marijuana or breathing in marijuana?
Marijuana is very good for me, but I don't smoke weed. Every time I've enjoyed it, but man, I haven't done that for God knows. Mid to late 20s last time, so mid 20s. Yeah.
I bring that up because for me, I'm a clean and sober guy. Like, it's very important that I maintain my sobriety.
How long have you been?
Approaching 16 years.
Get out of here.
Yeah.
I knew you had. I didn't know it was 16 years.
I'm about to be sweet 16.
Good for you, bro. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. And there's nothing, like really, there's nothing that I value more than my sobriety. There's nothing more that I protect than my recovery. And I found it kind of upsetting when the Bill Maher podcast, which I saw you on, reached out, and they his thing is he smokes pot the whole time while he interviews people, and I said, hey, I'd happily go on there, but could he, while I'm on, out of respect for my sobriety, could he refrain from smoking pot?
He said no.
He said no, that's a deal breaker.
Wow.
And Mike Tyson's podcast is called Hotboxing. Like the whole point, like, be real. All of these prolific potheads, I've been on their shows, and it wasn't so important to them to blow marijuana smoke in my face.
I did not know that.
For Bill Maher, it was a deal breaker. And I found, and maybe that's why, whatever... you kind of see through the lens. So I watched you and the way you spoke to it. I could probably see him say the most innocuous thing and find it insulting.
To me,
compassionate leftist Bill Maher, apparently not compassionate enough to not smoke drugs and blow the smoke into a recovering addict's face. Yeah, that's where he draws the line. That's a deal breaker for him. What a good guy. What a moral exemplar. Turns out he's just like every other rich, entitled, selfish celebrity elite. Me, 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 me. I figured this would be obvious. I mean, we know Bill Maher's very public opinion on children, a very complex, nuanced opinion.
Do you like kids? Do you actually like kids?
What do you ask me this question for? Of course I don't like kids.
You asked me questions about kids. I'm asking
Jesus,
you.
But I just told you. Okay, no, I hate kids.
Yeah, he hates kids. And so obviously this is the man that we should be looking to as our northern star to guide us in the right direction when it comes to building a society. Yep, nothing better when you're trying to build the future than listening to people who have no stake in it. It's pretty easy to say bankrupt the nation, let it all fall down, create this unsustainable freaking giant that's eventually going to rear its ugly head. Do it all because the benefits in the short term are worth it while I'm here, and I won't have to deal with suffering the consequences because I'll be long gone by then, and I don't even have kids, so who cares? Let's bankrupt the nation. You start to see an interesting pattern. I, for one, don't believe that we should be taking advice on how to solve society's issues from people who don't have their lives together, and I certainly don't want to be talking about the future, like I said earlier, from people who don't have a stake in it. And I think that's pretty fair. Maybe I'm drawing conclusions, and maybe some people won't like this, but for me, I mean, especially man to man, it tells me all that I need to know about who you are. It tells me that you're selfish. You only care about yourself. You just want to live perpetually like an adult baby, partying, having fun, altering your brain because everything is me, 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 and me. That's the only thing that you can see. That's why it was so easy for Bill Maher to take this infamous stance.
Well, you should wish for a recession because that will definitely get him unelected.
Okay, but Bill, you don't really want a recession.
I really do.
You're gonna knock
we have survived many recessions. We can't survive another Donald Trump term.
The man literally called for a recession. I hope that middle-class people are forced to go bankrupt, lose their jobs, and sell their homes because I hate Donald Trump so much, okay? That's essentially what Bill Maher was saying. But I guess that wasn't enough of a warning sign, now was it? But at least a lot of people are starting to realize it. And apparently that includes Steve-O. You know, too many things are stacking. You can't wish recession on the middle class because orange man bad, publicly state you hate children, constantly demean and disrespect your guests because they represent the other political side, and also be incredibly selfish and frankly just rude and a horrible host, like in the case of this interaction with Bill Maher and Steve-O, and expect that people aren't going to start seeing what is clearly there. You know, it's a recurring pattern. It's the same thing that we see with these celebrities, these people who portray themselves as morally superior on the outside. And of course, their politics is connected to that. They're the good, intelligent, educated liberals, the moral exemplars of society, but behind the scenes, behind this very carefully curated social manipulation tactic, this sort of public moral grandstanding that's really just used as a social currency, well, the reality is these people couldn't care less. They live behind 10-foot gates in gated communities, completely out of touch with the regular person. You know, it's all talking points to these people. Grandstand on every issue, appear to be the moral superior, implement policies that make you look good and feel good to the detriment of everybody else. I mean, perfect example is the migrant crisis, the NIMBY doctrine. You know, that's warning sign number one. If it takes someone a while to come to what should be a very common sense reaction or solution, you know, if they're always late to the party but end up sounding super anti-woke or bringing in common sense in a world of craziness, like 6 to maybe 12 plus months after the fact, only once it becomes a political liability, or once, let's say, the crime gets out of hand and it starts coming into your backyard, if you're that kind of latte liberal, celebrated by the public as being the common sense liberal, who's ahead of the curve, well, you aren't. You're just Bill Maher, doing a media grift, riding the leftist wave, saying things you don't actually believe, things that you don't actually practice in your own life just because you want to seem cool, you want to seem above it all as a holy figure, a leftist thought leader, and of course keep shifting like a shifty chameleon and not actually living up to the standard that you preach for everybody else. Pompous California elite, lecturing everybody else as if we're all beneath him from his ivory tower, seeking admiration and adoration, pretending to care about people, putting on this act, while really you're just a selfish actor, essentially monetizing a political ecosystem, let's call it. You know, time and time again, this guy proves himself to be non-genuine, just not an honest actor and frankly not a good person. I think his appearance on Joe Rogan made that pretty clear, and now it's abundantly clear. Anyways, that's pretty much what I got for you guys. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.